right, welcome back to part two of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. X and KB coming at you as we always do. If you're watching us on YouTube, we thank you for that. However, you're listening to us on your podcast, we thank you for that as well. And two more games happen on Wednesday. And that first one was one that honestly I could do without. The 76ers and the Orlando Magic. Look, man, that was an embarrassment from start to finish. You had people within the Magic's organization and different things saying, oh, we know we're going to beat the Sixers by 40. Man, that didn't even come close to happening. Can we just go ahead and get this season over with in Orlando, KB? Paulo Banchero, man, I don't know what the hell has happened, but he does not look like the player that he looked like he was growing into last year. Franz Wagner still working his way back from an injury somewhat, but he did not play well. Jalen Suggs, my goodness, that was miserable to sit there and watch that. The only Orlando Magic player who we thought would be a difference maker for them this season and honestly would be somebody who could help take them to that next level was Desmond Bane. He's the only one who showed up in this game. Everybody else completely disappointed. And look, I'm rooting for the Charlotte Hornets to go ahead and just put them out of their misery and get this whole entire experiment over with because we already know that Jamal Mosley is as good as gone, no matter if they win on Friday or if they even make it to the playoffs and they just get ousted in the first round. There's clearly a problem there. There was information that leaked out this week saying that there is a huge problem in the locker room, and one star player in particular wants the head coach gone. And if the head coach comes back, he's going to demand a trade. Y'all don't have to hide behind it, man. We already know it's Paulo because we saw the issues that they had throughout the course of the season anyway. But I don't want to take away from the Philadelphia 76ers. Them going out there and getting that win the way that they did, especially with no Joel Embiid being out there, that was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that game really just showed me, like, as much as I want to, like, not take away anything from the 76ers, you got to look at how stupid, well, I ain't going to even go that far. You got to look at how bad it was what the Magic did. But let's not even go from just the game. This is exactly why you did not want to lose that game in Boston when you did. Because instead of you having a home playing game, you now have to go on the road and play a playing game for the 7th seed as opposed to had you won that game, you would have played that playing game at home, which makes a very significant difference. So you literally did this to yourself. You could not even beat the backups for the Boston Celtics while playing your starters. And so, yeah, you put yourself into the situation completely. You honestly deserve to lose. You honestly deserve to lose this game against Charlotte because you put yourself in a situation that you didn't have to be in. Because at least if you had gave yourself that home game, you got 2 straight home games to get it done. That would, I mean, like that's all you could ask for. So the lose against the Celtics B squad, not just in embarrassing fashion. I'll say that because man, I looked at that game and I watched that game. I have never seen a team just look so out of sync against backups while their starters are actually still having some. Like, there was the point that they even had a chance. It was unlikely, but they even had a chance going into that game to get the 6th seed. And there was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of desperation. It was nothing. They looked unmotivated. They looked
you could just feel the let's just get this over with.
I feel like they all quit. I felt like they quit on Jamal Mosley a long time ago. I felt like that Paulo damn sure quit on Jamal Mosley a long time ago because, like I said, there's been turmoil in the locker room. Franz ain't been there, but I think it's bigger than that. I think that there's problems there. I look at it like this: Jalen Suggs, hey bro, you playing like that, man, you might as well just ride the bench. You was a non-factor, brother. Like, you can't do that.
Before we talk about that, because you brought up that Celtics game, I want to bring up the Celtics leading scorers in that game. Luka Garza, 27 points. Ron Harper Jr., 27 points. Baylor Shireman, 30 points. Most casuals don't know who any of those guys are that I just named.
And I think they said that was one of the first times where they've had multiple players get their career highs in the same game. That was bad, and it was. But I look at it like I think they tuned him out. Jamal Mosley. I think they tuned him out a long time ago. Guys ain't stepping up, and the thing that's frustrating about Paulo, you see the talent, but the way he plays is so frustrating to me, brother. You are 6'10". You can get the shot that you want, and yet you rather shoot outside jump shots and basically give the defense like everything that they're asking for. They want you to take them shots because you're not even shooting great percentages when you do shoot those shots. Like I seen a couple plays. I seen one play in particular. He sealed Quentin Grimes under the basket, got an and one. And I'm thinking to myself, why does he not do that more? Hunt mismatches, get to the rim, go downhill, do whatever he has to do. But you need to be living in the mid range and in as far as the paint, you need to be just straight driving and then kick it out, when they start doubling. But Paulo, I think that he on his as far as his value, he on took a significant hit because he went from being what they call a playoff riser based off of last year whatever this version of him is, I don't need to see this anymore because
If I saw this version of Paulo Banchero coming, there's no way that I would have said that the Orlando Magic are a sleeper team for me going into the season to make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh yeah, I would have said sleeper team, but I mean like I'm going to sleep watching them. I'm not like that would have been like me. I'd have been like, yeah, you're sleeper team, all right. I'm going to sleep when they come on the TV. I don't want to watch them. Like they just look out of sync. Like
with all of the talent they have, this is some uninspiring basketball to watch.
It is. And then thinking about everything that you gave up to get Desmond Bane, like, how could you not feel bad about the way the season? Because either it's going to end tomorrow or it's going to end in round one. Either way it goes, you're going to lose. You going at worst you're a first round exit at worst. And if they were to let's say they win tomorrow, they're getting swept. They're getting swept unless Boston wants to be generous and give them a gentleman's sweep. But they're getting swept.
Oh no, they'll play Detroit. So yeah, they're going to get swept.
Oh yeah, so it didn't matter. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. They're playing that. They're going for the eighth seed. Excuse me. Yes, yeah, they're gonna get swept. I just know that Detroit plays so physical. Yeah, they're gonna get swept.
They're going to get swept. It's going to be uninspiring to watch, and that's going to be the playoff series that the league probably looks at and says, "Yeah, we're going to bury them on a place where probably not too many people going to watch them." You know how they put certain playoff series back in the day on NBA TV? For the most part, that's what they would end up doing with this series if that's what ends up happening.
It might end up on Tubi. Who knows, man? We don't know, man. That's why at least if I can say like I at least would like to see Charlotte and Detroit because at least I can see a compelling series coming out of that because like I said, there's real hatred. There is real hate for those two teams. I don't want to see the Magic go out there and put up 48 minutes of straight garbage. I don't want to see that. And like I said, the reason why I don't even give them much of a chance, even at home tomorrow, is because they're playing uninspired basketball. Man, like that was one of those games. Like if I had to say, out of all the playing games, that was absolutely the worst one to watch. That was the worst one to watch. Not even, and it wasn't even nothing because of 76ers. I think the 76ers played pretty tough. I think that they just played like they were just there. Like they played like a team that knew that they didn't have to win that game to actually get into the playoffs, which is crazy because it's like you're going to lose either way. You're going to be a first round exit either way. But wouldn't you rather go ahead and win the first one so that you don't have to play a second playing game within a matter of a couple of days? And then
you would think so.
You would think so. And then even if you were to win, you got to turn around and take a flight up to Detroit to start your first round series. What, Sunday? I think Sunday would be, yeah. Like, yeah, man, I want that experiment to be over because, like I said, the turmoil that's going on in the locker room, coupled with the fact that they're not getting guys showing up every single night. Like I said, Wendell Carter, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like you said, Desmond Bane was the only one that kept them in that game the other night because between Paulo, Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter. Yeah, man, I'm tired of seeing. I can't even blame Franz because he got hurt in that game as well, and he's still not 100%. So I can't even blame him. But yeah, you on the team, so you gonna get lumped into it all. But like him missing a significant portion of the season, and then the fact that they had the situations going on in the locker room with all the like passive aggressive stuff that's been said. I think that this season needs to end. If I was an Orlando fan, I would want it to be over like sooner rather than later because nothing good coming out of them still like playing basketball. It's not even good to watch.
No, it's time to end this. Try to get the right coach in there, whoever that's going to be. Before we talk a little bit more about the Sixers, though, because I do want to give them some love for what they did go out there and do and for what they've been doing throughout the course of the season. Because they've had some things go on, too, that would have been very easy for them to pack up shop and say, all right, well, let's try it again next year. And they didn't do that. But I have to say this, KB, because if Matt is listening at this, Matt Craig, I already know he's probably waiting for me to get to this point. Going into this season, I thought that Jamal Mosley was one of the rising young coaches in the league. And it looked like he had them on the up and up. Because you look at how Orlando had been playing the last two seasons, that was my thought process with it. And then you add a Desmond Bane into the mix, just looked like they were taking the next steps forward. And now he's going to end up ultimately getting fired or resigning from this job or a mutual parting of ways. Whatever it's going to be, he's not going to be the Orlando Magic coach next year. So I was absolutely wrong on that. And I don't know if he's even going to get another shot to be an NBA coach again because of the stuff that's happening with the Magic in the locker room that we're hearing about. That imagine what people within the league are actually hearing.
Yeah, that's a shame. 'Cause I do think Jamal Mosley can coach, but I think that this thing just ran its course, and I think that once situations get out of control, there's like when you lose the support of your star, your quote unquote star, I think it's pretty much over because as much as we want to say like players are expendable just as much as coaches, coaches are even more expendable because we know that their job security is directly tied to their success. And like I said, the Magic, they don't have a bunch of deep playoff runs to go off of the whole Jamal Mosley and keep him as a head coach. So, I would hope that he would get another shot because, like I said, I've seen some bad head coaching throughout the league that has gotten way more opportunities than he has. So, I think that, but it's like you see some guys, once they get fired from their head coaching positions, they've never gone on to get another head coaching position again. So it's
KB,
very,
we haven't even heard about Adrian Griffin being on anybody's staff since he
yeah,
got fired from the Milwaukee Bucks.
yeah. Even when you're talking about, like, from me, I've seen coaches of the Atlanta Hawks from Lloyd Pierce to Nate McMillan have not taken another head coaching job since they've been fired. I mean, it happens. Like you got guys. Nate McMillan, he's had head coaching opportunities before, but Lloyd Pierce has not been given another head coaching opportunity again. So it is chances that this may be it for him, which is terrible. But I mean, because you got even college coaches that are garnering more interest than guys that have been on NBA staffs for years. Because we've seen a lot of assistant coaches get passed up for positions that they are well within their rights to go interview for and possibly get because they paid their dues. But
Yeah, but then they finally do get an opportunity, whether it's the NBA and college, and we kind of see why they got passed up. The biggest example for that for me is Patrick Ewing, because he was an assistant in Orlando for years. And remember, folks were like, Patrick Ewing should at least get an opportunity to be an NBA head coach. And this was a successful Orlando team that he was with for years. He finally got the job at his alma mater at Georgetown, and nothing got better.
yeah, I give you that. I can concede to that, but you know, hopefully Mosley, yeah, I don't. I think that this just needs
Here's
to
what
go.
here's what's probably going to happen. Mosley probably is going to end up becoming one of the lead assistants or one of the assistant coaches on the staffs of one of the better coaches in the league. Think, and I don't know what his relationships are like with these guys, but I'm just thinking in terms of great coaches in the game. Ime Udoka, Mark Daigneault, JB Bickerstaff might take a waiver route on him. Joe Mazzulla could take a waiver route on him. This person didn't have a great year because of injuries and things happening with the team. Rick Carlisle's still a great coach. He might want to bring in Jamal Mosley. We don't know what's going to happen in Golden State. He could end up joining Steve Kerr's staff if the opportunity is there for that. JJ Redick might want to bring him to the Lakers. We don't know.
It's all circumstantial too, because like I said, he lands with the right organization that, like you said, has a proven coach at the helm. He, like I said, he automatically becomes one of the lead assistants for a potential head coaching position vacancy like in the league. So some of that is just like waiting it out. Like you just got to wait it out because you're going to get a job somewhere. It may not be a head coaching position right away, but you're going to get a job somewhere and you're going to be asked to join someone's staff because you got a lot of knowledge for the game. So in that point, you may just need to wait it out because we're not saying that we're not, as much as I'm saying, like I've seen it happen where guys don't get other head coaching opportunities. I'm not saying it would. It could be a possibility where you do get that opportunity. Like it just has to be, like I said, out more for me would be let me go learn from some of the guys that have done this and have championship experience, or even who are not necessarily champions yet, but are up and coming. Like Ben Johnson, you could even I believe that's the San Antonio Spurs head coach. I may be saying that maybe is not his name. What is San Antonio Spurs head coach name?
It's Johnson something, but it's not Ben.
Okay, my bad. Even getting under a staff like him, bringing some type of knowledge to help him out. You know what I'm saying? That could very well be a thing as well.
Mitch Johnson. And nobody saw this coming with him. But think about what we just said though. The route that we're talking about, some of these guys end up taking. That's usually how you get your most successful head coaches. They end up taking the route of sitting on somebody's staff who is a successful head coach, or at least learning under a successful head coach, and they take the things that they've learned from that coach or coaches for that matter, and they take it, and even if it takes a little time, and situation and fit matters too. Like, I don't think there's any coach in the league right now, no matter how great you are, that can go fix the Sacramento Kings. I just don't see that. I want to throw the Washington Wizards in that mix, but they at least have some talent on the roster. When Trae Young's healthy, we expect him to be a difference maker. I don't expect Anthony Davis to be a Washington Wizard based off some of the things I've heard this week come out of his own mouth, but they've got some talent there. So fit and situation also matters. So since we both assume that Mr. Mosley is going to be fired, who do you think is going to be the next head coach of the Orlando Magic, or who would you like to see get the opportunity to be the head coach of the Orlando Magic?
That is tough because I'm looking at some of the guys, like I said.
I'm gonna throw a name to you who has been an assistant for years and has not gotten his opportunity for whatever reason. Somebody call Sam Cassell, man. And he's been a successful assistant.
You go Terry Stotts as well, who's been a head coach for the Portland Trail Blazers.
But does he still want to coach?
I'm just going out some guys that have been, you know what I'm saying, they've been successful in their roles. And then they've also been, like I said, Sam Cassell, former player who's been on, multiple championship winning staffs. Also Terry Stotts, who, he was a pretty good, damn good head coach for Portland for a number of years.
Yes.
Before it happened. So, like, that's a guy I thought about when I saw him. I was like, damn, he's still there. Like, you start to look at some of these lead assistants and you're like, okay.
Do you take a waiver on Darvin Ham? I know it ended ugly in LA, but his first year there, they did get to the Western Conference Finals. They had to take the ugly route to get there, but they did get there.
I don't. for me personally, I think he gets an interview, but I don't think he would be the guy. I think that right now you got a lot of young players. You got a lot of young players down there. You got to find somebody that can like get through to them because, like I
And
said, it's
but
got
he's
to be
also
the
got to
right
be.
guy.
It's got to be somebody who not only can get through to them, they got to be able to relate to them too. That's why I'm not throwing names to you like Dwayne Casey and Tom Thibodeau right now.
Nah, because they very Tom Thibodeau and Dwayne Casey are very set in their ways. Like this is what I am. This is who I'm gonna be. This is my philosophy. You're gonna either gonna get with it or you're not gonna play. Like they're very set in their ways. So that's what I'm saying. Like with a young coach, I'm not even gonna say he has to be super young, but when you're talking about younger guys like that can relate to like younger players and like you need somebody that can first of all get through the Apollo because none of this is gonna matter if they can't get through to the star. If they don't buy into whatever coach that they're selling, it isn't gonna matter. Be honest. It's that's
Maybe
why
you should maybe go pluck somebody off of OKC's staff
yeah.
who has literally gone through the same type of rebuild that it looked like the Orlando Magic were headed towards.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Like I think that it's going to be a lot of lead assistance. Like I think that this is going to be one of those things where like they're going to scour through like a couple of different like winning organizations and they're going to try to pluck some of those guys that are, you know what I'm saying, on these on these like successful staffs. That's going to be what they're who they're going to be focusing on. That's why I don't really know, but like when you're talking about the type of coach, I think they do need a guy that's not really old school, not for that particular type of team. Old school coaches would be more for guys that like have like a heavy veteran presence on the team, like multiple veterans. Like that's why like you would like put those guys with somebody like even Golden State, like Steve Kerr, were not to be the coach anymore because you got guys that have been battle tested, guys that have been through many championship games together. So you could see that, but like I said, it has to be the right type of coach. I think it's got to be somebody that has new philosophies, fresh philosophies, like other than what they were experiencing under Jamal Mosley. So
The guy who I think honestly would have been perfect for this job is no longer on the market because he's
Mike
not in college
Malone,
basketball. But Michael
yeah.
Malone would have been the perfect guy for
I,
this.
I thought about him before, but because that's why the North Carolina news was kind of shocking to me because I'm like, I know a couple of positions that might have opened up. I didn't see him going back to Sacramento, but I could have definitely seen him possibly looking at some other positions that opened up, like especially now that Orlando. I could have seen them working with Orlando because Orlando doesn't have a bad roster. I've seen way
Oh
worse
no,
than
there's a lot of talent on that team.
it's too much. So it's like if this is what you got to work with, you can work with this. Especially in the Eastern Conference, you can work with this because, like I said, there's no guarantee that like when you're just talking about the landscape of the Eastern Conference, you know Detroit's going to be good for years to come. Boston, New York, Cleveland, but then you go down the line, you got Atlanta who's on the uprise. You don't know exactly like we expect Indiana to be better next year with with Tyrese Halliburton coming back, but we still don't know with the rest of their roster construction what it's going to be like. So it's not necessarily too far fetched to say that Orlando ain't out of it. Like if they lose their coach, they could still be very well a top 6 seed next year if they get the right coach in. That's not too far out to say.
There's a name I want to throw at you, but I've given up hope that he's going to get another chance as an NBA head coach, and that's Mark Jackson.
Yeah, if it didn't happen for the Knicks, I if the Knicks didn't take that flyer out on him, I don't think I think that that was one of the things that he was blackballed and they pretty much moved on from it. And I think even he's moved on from it now at this point
More than
because
likely so. But
I
when
think
you
he
look at
really
what he
wanted.
did in Golden State and the type of team that he had, they were young, they were developing. I feel like he would be a great fit for this, but I've given up hope that he's going to end up getting another chance as an NBA head coach.
Yeah, me too. I think he put a lot of stock. I think that he would have been perfect for the Knicks now. I think he would have been perfect. Like no disrespect to no disrespect right now, but I think that Mike Brown, I think that Thibodeau has such a culture established that we're gonna be gritty defensively. Like I think that Thibodeau would have, you know what I'm saying, like he would still been pretty good with this current roster construction right now. You got a lot of talent at the wing positions. Like, you know what I'm saying? That would have been something that, they played hard defensively. So I think that would have been right up Thibodeau's alley. I just think that some of his philosophies were a little outdated for what the current NBA is right now. That's the only thing.
No disrespect to Mike Brown. He should have gotten another head coaching job in the league because he got absolutely a raw deal in Sacramento. But that is not the job that he should have gotten. He should not be the head coach of the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau honestly should still be the head coach of the New York Knicks. But if it wasn't going to be him, you had to bring in somebody that had championship experience, man. You had to bring in somebody that already had some rings and some hardware that was going to prove they could take those guys to the next level simply just by throwing up their hand and showing the rings.
Yeah. And like I said, man, I'm pretty sure, like I said, it's still people to this day. Like when we just talking about Mark Jackson, still people to this day. And I'm one of them. He orchestrated what Golden State is now. What Golden State was during their years of the Steph Clay and Draymond era, he was the orchestrator of that. Steve Kerr benefited from that. And, that's why I felt like he should have been given another opportunity in the league. And I felt like, why not come home? Why
Oh,
not come?
absolutely.
Why not come
100%.
home? It was lined up perfectly, and they kind of just, it's like, we're good. I think that that's why it was kind of, it was kind of deflating for him. I think it was like one of those things where he pretty much, after that, I think he gave up on it. So I don't know. I don't know who's gonna take that Orlando position. I think that Mike Malone would have definitely been the name I would threw out there because I know he was itching to get back in the game. But hey, North Carolina must have threw him a sweet deal. That's all I can say.
Hey, look, maybe it can be a trade for a trade. North Carolina gets Mike Malone. Let's give the Orlando Magic Hubert Davis.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't
That,
know
that's
about that,
that,
dog.
that's not gonna happen, yo.
I don't know about that one, dog.
No, but it's gonna be interesting because that is that's a very good roster with talent. We talked about how talented Charlotte and Portland are and how bright their futures are. From a talent standpoint, you'd be hard pressed to find too many teams across the league that are better talent wise on paper than the Orlando Magic are.
For sure. For sure.
But I want to give some love to the Philadelphia 76ers too, man. You don't know what you're ever going to get with Joel Embiid because of health. Paul George, health, and has just rapidly declined over the past 2 seasons. Maxey, we're looking to see, is he a star? Is he a superstar? What leap is he going to take? Edgecombe had a decent rookie year. He had a good rookie year, then was decent at times. He showed up in the play-in game. And you have guys like Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond. There was a lot that was going on with that team this year in terms
Yeah.
of having guys in and out of the lineup. And then you just look at how poorly it went last year. I'll never forget Paul George and Joel Embiid sitting on NBA Countdown before the NBA Finals matchup between Dallas and Boston, and you could just tell that they were trying to get in cahoots with each other on how are we going to end up being teammates, and it happened. And then it was a complete and utter failure. But you got to give Nick Nurse credit, man, and you got to give those players credit. They stuck together throughout the course of the season despite all the injuries and things that were handed their way. And they are in the NBA playoffs this year. A 180 from where they were a year ago. And Maxey's he's not there with Anthony Edwards in terms of being there that caliber of a shooting guard, but he is making his way up into the top shooting guards in the game conversation, if not already. Do you consider him a top 5 shooting guard in the game?
Yeah, I would. I would. Because I look at it like his ability to just, like I said, he's hard to stay in front of, man. And every year from his rookie season to where he is now, he has improved leaps and bounds. Like I think that he is like an all NBA. He is an all NBA type of player because, like I said, he can go out there and get you 30 easy. Because of the way he plays, I think that, his stock is going up while guys like Devin Booker is going down. And for some people that want to say he's a point guard, he's damn sure not a point guard. Combo guard, it would be the thing that I would say. Like, he can bring the ball up, but he's not a guy that's going to traditionally like start up your offense. He's looking to score. He's not from. He's more of that Kyrie type of mold. Like, Kyrie can be a point guard, but Kyrie is looking to score. Kyrie's looking to get him. Like, he can get your guys involved. But like, I'm not saying Maxey can't either. Maxey can run a pick and roll game easy too, but that's not what his main role is. That's not his focus. His
I'm
main
with you
focus
on
is
that,
scoring.
KB, but it's interesting you bring that up because how many natural point guards do we honestly have in the game?
I think that's where the NBA is trending though. Just like when we talk about like it's not too many people that are trying to like when you're talking about big men now have to stretch the floor. They have to be able to stretch the floor. And like outside of maybe Rudy Gobert, when you looking at guys like Wemby who are an anomaly, like you got guys like that are coming into the league, not necessarily like Wemby, but they are coming in with the ability to shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor. They're 3 level scorers pretty much. So that's where we're trending now. Like most of the guys now, because you don't really need too many more right now. Teams aren't looking for like the next Steve Nash. They're looking at guys that can go out there. Yeah, they want guys that can go out there and get you 10 to 12 assists. But they also looking at guys that can get you 22 points as well. So that's what we're seeing now. Guys got to be able to do multiple things to affect the game instead of just being good at one thing and then not that great at other aspects. So
And for people who didn't grow up watching basketball in the 2000s, you have no idea how unbelievable this conversation is that we're having right now. There used to be a necessity to have a point guard who was a main facilitator and could bring the ball up and set the offense.
yeah, like we grew up on those guards like J Kidd, Steve Nash, uh,
Rajon Rondo.
Rajon Rondo. Yeah, like they weren't looking necessarily. They could score. Like we seen Steve Nash win 2 MVPs. Like they can score. We're not saying they couldn't. That wasn't their main focus. They were looking at I'll pick my spots, but I'm looking to get my guys involved. And then when the situation opens up for me, I can go score myself. But that's what the NBA is transitioning from, just like the NBA transitioned from traditional big men, a la Shaq, Dwight Howard, guys that were predominantly post players, to now you can't be on the floor if you can't stretch the floor.
Yeah, you will not be able to have an impact out there if you cannot stretch the floor as a
Yeah.
big in today's NBA.
And if it wasn't for like guys like when we were talking about traditional big men like Rudy Gobert, if it wasn't for his defensive presence, he literally wouldn't have much of a space on the floor either.
No.
If Rudy Gobert wasn't like what 7'3", 7'2", or whatever he is,
Because when
he
you watch the Timberwolves, Nas Reed compliments them much better all around than he does.
he does. Like now, you still need a guy like Rudy Gobert for like defensive presence, but like if he didn't have that defense presence, if he was a negative on defense, Rudy Gobert wouldn't have a place on the floor. So you kind of have to be able to, like I said, you have to affect the game on offense in multiple ways. Be a 3 level scorer. Hell, even be able to just not even necessarily. You don't even have to necessarily shoot the three, but you have to be at least respectable. You don't have to necessarily like Andre Drummond is a direct example of what I'm talking about. He changed his game up to now he's at least respectable from three. You at least have to put a hand up. Like he will make an open three. He
I'll give you
definitely
one. I'll give you one better than Andre Drummond.
go ahead.
Al Horford is a complete example of what you're talking about too.
Yeah, Al
Al
Horford.
Horford was not this in Atlanta. And what I mean by he wasn't this, he was not a player in Atlanta who you would have stretching out the floor. Nope. Get your big butt down there on the block. That's what he was. And then as he got into Boston, transitioned into a totally different player.
Exactly. Exactly. He changed his game up, and it was so many like that. had to go from mid range, from the mid post, and they had to expand their game because that prolonged their career. Like, had Al Horford not done that, who knows? He may have been retired to this point. He may
Oh,
just,
there is no May. He would
yeah.
not. Yeah.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, guys are extending their careers at least a couple of more years, still being able to go for championships because of the fact that they changed their game. So, like, Joel Embiid, there's going to be more players that come in playing like a Joel Embiid before there are more guys that play like a Shaq. You know
Or
what I'm saying?
Ben Wallace.
Or Ben Wallace, like where they were just, great live threats. Like even DeAndre Jordan, he at one point had to step out and actually start trying to expand his game because he knew there was no place on the floor. If there was a comparable center that could crowd that paint, the lobs ain't there like they used to be when there was like when you're going against a lesser guy. So
And unfortunately, he was not able to successfully do that and became more of a career backup for like the last 6 years.
he did, but I commend him for trying because, like I said, I've seen guys go a whole career and not work on anything. Dwight Howard did it towards the end of
Oh,
his.
yeah. Like if Dwight Howard had have at least tried, I still think he'd be in the league today.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know that's saying a lot by him. He would be 40 years old at that point, but still.
yeah, exactly. And I think that when he tried to adapt, it was too late. When he tried to actually like think about it, I think that it wasn't much of a focus because like around the time that he left from Houston and he came to Atlanta, that should have been the time that he should have worked on more of his because he still was a presence at that time. He was still giving you about like 18 and 12. That would have been the time. But, that's neither here nor there.
Again, for folks who didn't watch basketball in the 2000s, you have no idea how unbelievable this conversation is for us to be having this. Like, point guards used to be like actual floor general. They used to be a necessity. Big men down in the paint, like Ben Wallace, used to be a necessity. If you didn't have either of those two things, you were not going to win a championship. And now it's hard to believe that those types of players have really become ancient for the most part in the game. But that just goes to talk more about growth and evolution. Whether you think it's good for the game, whether you think it's bad, is where the game is headed.
Agree. I think that it's just, like I said, the traditional way of. That's why I think that, like I said, this is the best way to extend a career other than, playing smart and like, being able to keep yourself healthy is one part of it, but being able to add things to your game is a whole nother part of it. And like I said, you got guys now like with the NBA being more focal on the more of a focal point of being like 3-point shooting at an all-time high. Like it would help that you can at least be respectable to so that like late in games you're a threat. That way that teams can't like just sag off of you and go guard another guy and double them. So like that all plays a part of it. So I think that that's why like guys like Andre Drummond at least attempting to expand his game that bodes well for his career because now he has a job at least until he can't play the game anymore at a high level.
You know what? You know what I honestly compare it to, KB? The extinction of the down on the block traditional big man. Does it not remind you of the extinction of the solely pocket quarterback in football?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you like you gotta think about the age of the pocket quarterback is done. And that's why you don't see that many pocket quarterbacks that are still pocket quarterbacks that are that successful. Because when you look at it, the Lamar Jacksons, even the Pat Mahomes is not a he's not a dual threat quarterback in the same level of a Josh Allen or Lamar, but he can run enough to get outside the pocket to make something happen. His eyes are always downfield. So that's exactly what like a very good point. It kind of is like what the like league is transitioning from because when we were coming up as far as pocket quarterbacks, you had the Peyton Mannings, you had the Tom Brady, you even had the Drew Brees, like that were traditional pocket quarterbacks. But now you're into like, then you saw the league start shifting a little bit to the Russell Wilsons and Lamars, and you know what I'm saying? Guys like that, that once they get outside the pocket, they just as dangerous. So, and that honestly, that may have, like, for some people like Cam Newton, it may have hurt his career. It may have, because of the fact that the injuries started piling up. But that was also the way he played, because he was not getting down. He wasn't sliding. He wasn't going. He was embracing it. He was embracing all the contact. So that was kind of like what we were talking about.
But one of those pocket quarterbacks who I think is a great example of how we watched them go from flourishing to just being completely out of the league and looking completely out of sorts, Matt Ryan.
Yeah, yeah. Matt Ryan was one of the few pocket quarterbacks that had success until he didn't. Like, having a pocket quarterback is like, so like, my thing is this: just like having a traditional big man, or a traditional point guard, it has to be around the right team, because having a pocket quarterback with a bad offensive line, it doesn't bode well, because if you can't get out the pocket, you can't even throw the ball away, because it just won't bode well for your team, because like I said, teams send rushers all the time to get those quarterbacks out the pocket. Just like
That's
teams.
why that's why when people have the conversation about Brady could come back and play today, you kind of got to put an asterisk by that, because it's got to be, well, what's the situation?
Yeah, because if he doesn't have the line to block for him, he a sitting duck back there. Like, yeah, can he still make the reads? Absolutely, he probably could still make the reads. He could still read a defense. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot more that goes into it than just making a read, making a quick throw, because he'll be the first to tell you, I can't run. And if they send a guy a safety on a safety blitz, and I don't, and my line doesn't pick him up, and I don't see him in enough time, I'm as good as done. So that's what I mean by that. And it's the same thing with a big man. Like, the only way that would work is if you were having, like, remember the Dwight Howard years in Orlando? A traditional big man worked back then because he was surrounded by shooters. He was surrounded, like, all four guys on the floor except him could shoot the ball at a high level too. Turkoglu, Jameer Nelson. You had
Rashard
Pietri,
Lewis.
you had even Petrus, you had Rashard Lewis. You had guys that could shoot the basketball. So it made sense, because they doubled down, kick out, ball going up. I can get the rebound. I can either go back up, or I can kick it right back out to you for another three. So it has to be the right situation for things like that to work.
So there was a second play-in game that happened on Wednesday, and that was a battle of two old foes who used to be championship contenders, but now we're watching both of these teams at the end of their runs. The Golden State Warriors, Los Angeles Clippers. And I thought the Clippers had it. They had a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. Steph was not playing well through the majority of most of three quarters. And then that man turned back the clock. That man turned back the clock to 2016, 2017, 2018, and he became vintage Steph Curry. But somebody else turned back the clock too, and that was Draymond Green, who completely put the clamps on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard only had 2 points and was on 1 for 6 shooting last night while being guarded by Draymond Green. Kawhi Leonard even admitted in his post-game press conference, Draymond's defense was so great on him that he couldn't even get shots up. Do you know how great of a defender you have to be to not allow somebody of Kawhi Leonard's stature to at least get shots up? And that's still at the end of the game. Man, you almost look at it like, Kawhi, how'd you let that happen? But it's like, Kawhi even said going into this game that is a team over there that has championship pedigree. And they put it on display last night. And ironically enough, the three oldest players were the ones who really were the deciding factor for Golden State in this game. Al Horford, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. And what do all three of those guys have in common? They all got at least one championship. Even though Al Horford was a role player for his in Boston, he still got a championship. And he played in a lot of playoff series over the years from Boston to Atlanta. Very battle tested. But before we continue to talk about Golden State, I got to talk about these Clippers, man. Y'all did all that winning for nothing, basically. You did. You started off 6-21 and you came back, and what a heck of a run you went on in the regular season. But when you have a night that ends like it does on Wednesday, when you were up by 13 in the fourth quarter, and then you just proceed to have a mess all over yourself, and then it ends your season, you basically did all that winning for nothing. And now the complete future of the team, it's up in the air to me. I don't know if Kawhi is going to be back. Do they continue to hang on to Ty Lue? That's somebody who he's slowly starting to fall into that Doc Rivers territory, KB, if you think about it.
Yeah. Did you see what CP3 posted after they lost?
Yes.
Hey man, that is some subtle irony. Like it was like I'm praying for the downfall of my ops. Like that was one of those type of situations. Like, but I'm gonna tell you though, one person who the more and more the game went on, I honestly felt like he had no business being out there on the court. That was Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez looked slow. He was hunted on switches. Al Horford made him like Al Horford, he was getting cooked pretty much no matter where he was going because his like Al Horford's ability to stretch the floor made it to where he couldn't come out there. He's slow. Anytime he switched on the Steph, oh, that was over with. Especially that three that Steph hit on that left corner, like towards the end of the game. Like I think it was two guys coming his way, and he still was able to rise up and hit it. Where Brook Lopez just put a hand up like this, and he was just holding it. I'm like, well, that happened because of a guy who is slow. He has slow feet. His inability to get out there, he can't guard. Like he can't guard in space. And I look at Kawhi Leonard like, hey, you didn't necessarily play the greatest in the first half. You didn't. Draymond Green clamped you up in that second half. Like that's why I say championship experience because Draymond Green can still guard in spots. He can still guard when he needs to guard. And Steph Curry, I mean, there's nothing really that you can say at 37 years old, he's still getting it done.
Not only that, he came into the game on a minutes restriction.
Exactly. But when it comes to the playoffs, there's not a guy that you can point to that you can say is more competitive than that guy. You can't tell me that he don't care. You can't tell me that he ready to just pack it in for the rest of his career. As bad as a roster as this team has right now, if he wills this team to the playoffs, hey man, like that's just
KB, we
add.
sat here and we questioned when we heard he was coming back. What is he coming back for? Well, he showed us.
He showed us in the very first game that he came back that he still got it. He didn't look like he had any rust. And it's like, damn, we might be looking at like for us specifically, like we might be looking at the greatest point guard of our generation. Actually, there is no May.
No doubt about it. Of our generation, yes.
Yes, there is no May at this point. Like he is the greatest point guard of our generation. And I like what we witnessing is probably something we won't see again. Like we've seen guys be able to shoot the ball, but I don't think like I remember when they were trying to guard him on that inbounds. Even him, they were bracketing him, and he still was able to get free of a double team just to get the ball. But that just shows you the level of attention that he commands just for him to get like when he's on the floor. Nobody else gets covers like that. We don't see some great scores come through, but nobody gets guarded. Like they are bumping him, pushing him, holding him on screens, on you know what I'm saying, on anything. He still has an ability to get through all of that and still rise up and not just he's not a set jump shooter. That's the crazy thing. Like he's on the go. He's a moving the whole time. So I think that with him, I think that he on one right now. That's why I said I don't feel too good about Phoenix's chances because right now he riding the heater. And if Phoenix, it ain't looking too good because I'm looking at it like you got everything to lose. If Steph and them lose, it's kind of like it was expected. That roster is no good. That roster is actually pretty bad.
No, we
You
actually
know,
were waiting for them to lose last night to see, okay, Golden State, is this the time you finally blow it up?
yeah, but I think that they still got key contributions from guys like Porzingis, Horford, Draymond. Uh, Even if you want to include guys like Santos. Santos, I think, played well last night.
Podziemski, because I'm not calling him Pods. I'm sorry, you don't deserve to have a nickname. Podziemski, he hit a big shot for him late.
He did. He came out aggressive at the beginning of the game as well. So I gotta give him, yeah, you're right. I give him his credit. And even I can't think. D'Anthony Melton, he came in spot minutes and he made an impact. So, they are they gonna have do they have like a shot at winning the championship this year? Absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely not. And they're probably gonna get smoked out as soon
Even
as
if they
they
were
get if
fully
they
healthy with Jimmy Butler there, they still don't have a shot.
yeah, and I felt like even if they would still probably get smoked out round one and against OKC. But I think that it's something to be said about like Steph can get you there, but I think that a lot of them also being in this position was because Steph was not there because we see he can win you games, even
KB,
just
when
his
you
presence.
when you think about it, honestly, this is one of the more important games that the Warriors have won this decade.
Yeah,
Take 20 the 2022 run was the 2022 run. Obviously, what they did that year stands out above anything else they've done in this decade.
yeah,
But after that, there's the game 7 against Sacramento where Steph went absolutely crazy with a 50 piece. There's a game last year against Houston in the first round where Steph went crazy. And now it's this because there hasn't been much to talk about with the Warriors outside of the 2022 title run in the 2020s decade.
yeah. And they've
And
been in the
honestly, when you think about it, this might be one of those moments where you go back and you look at games that really like stand out when it comes to Steph Curry's career overall. For me, this is going to be one that stands out because of how abysmal he looked at one point in the game. And then to end up doing what it was that he did, that's one of those where you just go, that's what the legends do, man. That's what the
yeah.
greats do.
Just like for example, we don't know exactly what's going to happen like with like LeBron in round one, but anything that he does, just like Steph Curry, gotta appreciate it, man. 'Cause these guys hooping late 30s into their early 40s. And you know what I'm saying? They're still contributing. Like you still like I think that's the bad part about it also is that teams like their teams are looking for them to save them almost at their advanced age, and that shouldn't be the thing. I know the Lakers are dealing with injuries, but that's who would be the next guy up. It would be LeBron, and I can't count him out until he's out. I think that it is going to be a different. Like I think it is going to be bad for them though because of the fact that they are hobbled coming in, and I don't look at their roster as being as talented as even if as it was when Darvin Ham was there in that Western Conference Finals run. I don't think they're as talented as they were back then. But I think that Steph and LeBron have a way of they may not be able to do it every night, but they got a way like they have a way of tapping into something for one game that puts everybody like, damn, they really are still like that. They are like that still to this day. And that's the crazy part. Like Steph has an ability to turn it on in big moments. And I used to always hear Steph ain't clutch, Steph ain't this. And I'm like, huh? You talking about the same guy? Like that guy he can
Because a
still
lot of
get it.
people wanted to continue to hang on to what happened in 2016 in the finals.
That's cool and all. That's cool, but that was a year where I felt like Cleveland was on a mission. Shout out to Cleveland. They was on a mission. It wasn't you can't stop a train once they got momentum and speed built up. It wasn't no stopping LeBron back then. It wasn't no stopping Kyrie back then. Those last 2 to 3 games of that series, they were on one. It wasn't no stopping them. So yeah, we could say that yeah, Steph he choked in 2016. But I'm gonna be honest, the way they were locked in, nobody was gonna beat them. I don't care who they put in front of them. Nobody was gonna beat Cleveland back then. So I think that Steph, shout out to him. I would love, and honestly love to see if they were to win tomorrow. and go to OKC. Hey man, this is the most far-fetched thing I'm probably gonna say. If they were even to get 2 games on OKC, I'd be impressed
I'm only
because of
giving
how
them
bad
one.
this.
I'm only
I'm
giving
saying,
them one.
I'm saying you could give them one, but I say if they were even to just get two, I would be thoroughly impressed because of what they had to overcome, what this roster currently is constructed like, and how good OKC is. Even though Jalen Williams ain't played majority of the season, like I would be thoroughly impressed if they were able to get 2 games.
Yeah, but you know who also would be thoroughly impressed by that? Mike Dunleavy Jr. in the Warriors front office. And that's the problem. They don't need to be thoroughly impressed by anything else that they see from this team going forward. No, you are as bad as that roster is. And if you're planning on getting better while keeping Steph there, you need to make those improvements. And if they even remotely look like they can compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder, those people are going to sit on their hands. That's what they're going to do. They're going to sit on their hands and be like, well, Jimmy will be back eventually. So, no, we believe in what we have, and we don't want to mess with the chemistry of something that looks like it could be developing into something special. That's exactly what's going to happen. So, no, I do believe they're going to beat Phoenix. I believe Phoenix lost their best chance at it.
Yeah.
But hey, at least if they do play OKC, if Golden State gets that far, you can at least say that you got Steph and Shea playing on a Sunday afternoon. That's going to do big numbers for ABC.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If Adam Silver, he's over here like this, praying that Golden State gets it done against Phoenix because that would definitely sell more tickets than Phoenix going against OKC. I mean, it's gonna be a route either way it goes for either team getting in. I just think that Golden State they would be the more marketable team to play OKC, and yeah, just like I felt like it's gonna be one of those ones. Like, I'm looking forward to the Western Conference playoffs, but I'm really looking forward to this Eastern Conference playoffs, dog. I can't lie to you. And that I haven't been able to say that in the years past. Like the Eastern Conference first round matchups might just be slightly better because when you're talking about possibly the matchups that are going on in the first round of the playoffs, these are legitimate matchups. Like from 1 to 8, 2 to 7, 3 to 6, 4 to 5. Like you can point to all of these matchups and say you're gonna get some good games coming out of these.
Not
Like
to mention the fact that you have a star playing on every single one of those teams,
every
whether it's a
single
young star or whether it's a veteran star. And you tune into the playoffs because you want to see stars matching up against each other.
absolutely. So like I said, I haven't said in too many times in years past, like Western Conference playoffs might not be as good as the Eastern Conference. And I'm not saying that the Western Conference playoffs aren't going to be good either. I just think that I'm more intrigued this year by the Eastern Conference because of everything that's going in. Because, like I told you before, do I think that Charlotte could beat Detroit in a 7 game series? No. But do I think it's going to be a very interesting series if they match up? Absolutely. Because I knew exactly how everything went in the regular season. Like, when you talking about y'all want that old school feel, that's the old school feel. Two teams that generally just do not like each other. I ain't gonna say it was no Boston and LA type of hate, but it is a huge disliking for the other team. And they all young, so they both young teams. So it's gonna be a good show to watch. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm with you on your observation of that, though, especially for the first round of the playoffs. I think all of those Western Conference matchups, look, I think they all could either be sweeps or gentlemen sweeps. I'm just being honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
The one that honestly might be the most competitive might be Nuggets and Wolves. That one could go 6. I don't see it going beyond that
yeah.
because Ant-Man is something's going on with that knee. Like we heard about all the right knee management that's been happening with it, and he hasn't looked the same since he came back. And if
Yeah.
Ant-Man can't go for you the way that they need Ant-Man to go, pack it up.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's why I think it was important for the Nuggets to hold on to that third seed because you getting a hobbled Warriors. I'm sorry, Warriors hobbled Wolves team coming into it because this ain't the same team that they got put out um, by a couple of years ago. You don't have that Nikhil Alexander Walker no more. You don't have you got a Julius Randle now. You got Jaden McDaniels still, yes, but it's not the same team. It's not the same circumstances either. So that was when the Wolves, I honestly, that year I thought the Wolves were going to the finals, to be honest. I could have seen a situation where the Wolves were going to the finals. Just looking
Yeah,
out
I could have seen
KD.
that too because I didn't see that Dallas team coming the way that they did.
Nah, nah. Like the momentum that they were riding after that series. Yeah, I thought they were going, dog. I ain't never seen a team guard like that in a 7 game series like that. Like that was some stifling defense. The way they were guarding Jamal Murray, I ain't seen a team guard him like that since. So that's that's why I'm saying it's gonna be a different series for sure. I think Jokic, he's always gonna be a threat. Jamal Murray's still gonna be, a problem. I want to see what guys like Christian Brown, I want to see what guys like that can be as far as trying to be an X factor for this series. Because I don't for me, it's not necessarily about your stars. It's always about the other guys. What can they contribute when the stars ain't necessarily got it, or when the stars are being taken out of the game based on the game plan of the other coaches? Like they may very well say we're gonna double Jokic every single time. We don't care that he can pass out of it. We're gonna see if y'all can make shots. That may be the game plan going into that series. But I know that Jaden McDaniels, he's gonna guard Jamal Murray for sure. Because he's gonna try to make him a non-factor for that series. So
I
we'll
don't
see
think it's
what
gonna work.
happens. It probably is not gonna work because, like I said, I think that the Nuggets are too deep. I think that their roster is too deep for them to do that. And I think that there's going to be other places that Jaden McDaniel is going to be needed before he starts just guarding him 1-on-1. But if Ant Man isn't 100%, I don't think it's going to matter either way.
No, it's not. Unfortunately, I see that one possibly going six, and that's a strong possibly. Rockets Lakers 5 in favor of the Rockets. I think LeBron will be great enough for one night that the Lakers will get one win out of this whole thing. Whoever OKC plays, I honestly want to say sweep, but if they do get the Warriors, I think Golden State will find a way to get one.
Get him a
Steph's
sweep.
one of those players that he'll be great enough for one night. They can at least get one, but it's going to be an ugly 5 game series. Portland and San Antonio. Look, as much as we've given Denny Avia his props, rightfully so, for how he's played this season and how he played on Tuesday night, 4 to 5 at most. And yeah, I don't see it being. I see a world in the Eastern playoffs where honestly, the only true ugly series in the first round, at least, might be Sixers Celtics, and that's a strong might. But I think the Celtics are locked in and ready to go. I think they're ready to try to go on another run here. That's the one team in the Eastern Conference that, if I had to pick somebody from the East who is a title favorite for me or could be one of them, is them. And it's
Yeah,
nobody else but them from that conference.
yeah, I think it is Boston. That's why I said it's very important. Like I didn't want the Hawks to face Boston first round because I already knew Boston is so locked in right now, and they I don't know what it is, but Joe Mazzulla, when I say a madman, as far as a head coach, he is like he puts on a coaching clinic. I have never seen a guy like I have seen a few coaches that have been like, all right, like I can get guys to do, but the way that he's even able to get his bench guys locked in, like they're the starters, like they could come in at any moment's time and they could give you buckets, just like they did in that Orlando game. Like he got them guys believing in it. Like, all right, we got the most deep team in the entire NBA. Don't matter who we play, because I even look at them like their experience level. That's why I would give them the edge over Detroit. That's why I would give them the edge over a team like the Knicks. It's like them guys battle tested. Like you got Derek White battle tested, Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum battle tested. Then you got guys also that have not necessarily been in the championship runs, but they have been around. Like they have been around long enough to know that this is what is it takes to win. Like it's gonna be like even Peyton Pritchard. He's not the number one, number two, or number three guy, but I guarantee he can come in and give you 20
Yeah, you
easy.
better not leave him open.
You better not. And even if you do guard him, he still may do it to you. I've seen him go on a run by himself.
KB, it's only two teams in the league I honestly would have in front of the Celtics, period, at this point. OKC, and believe it or not, I'm actually back into the Denver being a title contender bandwagon. I was off of it for a while because they looked bad for a moment there. But those are the only two teams I would say have a shot of finishing in front of them. I wouldn't even put San Antonio in front of them. The experience isn't there.
San Antonio, I gotta see it. I gotta see it. If I until I see it, I can't go that far. I love what they did this year though. They got some bodies that can actually guard. Like, but I gotta
As
see.
as much as we want to see that OKC and San Antonio conference finals matchup, and I think that team out in Colorado gonna have something to say about that.
Oh yeah, they for sure gonna have something to say because they got a guy who, to me, he been snubbed at a couple of MVPs, and you know what I'm saying. He's still the baddest dude on the planet to me. Like, if you talking about a guy who who's gonna make sure that he's gonna be locked in every game. I think so. Like his worst game is some guy's best game. So I think that Jokic and Jamal Murray,
Ever since David Adelman took over as the coach, something has been unlocked in Jamal Murray.
yes, especially this year. Like I think that Jamal Murray, he don't tapped into something different. But he moving different, man. I'm talking about like his game took a leap. So they a threat, man. Shit, they're a 3 seed, but you could honestly look at them like, man, take the seeding away. They play like they are a top 2 seed. Like that's exactly how good they can be. And like I said, if not for them hitting those little bumps in the road, and Jokic having a few games where he missed, they could have been a top 2 seed. They could have been bad, like more into a contention of like going at the Spurs for that number 2 seed. If a couple things that shook out a different way. So
No, most definitely, because
yeah,
for the good stretch of the first quarter of the season, they were in that number two seed. So yeah, most definitely. But those are the only other two teams I have ahead of Boston in the league, period.
yeah,
It's about to be scary hours in the Eastern Conference once the Celtics get rolling. Like I say, as long as everybody's on that floor that they need to be out there, it's going to be scary hours. You know that they are ready to. If somehow, because I think the Hawks are honestly going to give the Knicks a great challenge,
I do
but the
too.
Knicks will probably end up winning the series. Man, if it's Knicks and Celtics again, that thing might get uglier than a masterpiece sneaker. You know Boston is ready to run it up on them.
Oh yeah, especially that's the team that took Tatum out for significant amount of time, and he looking in, even if he's saying like I don't hold no resentment toward him, he looking to get his get back. I don't care what nobody say. That team, you looking forward to a matchup. So they hope that the Knicks come out of that series against the Hawks. But like you said, ain't no guarantees about anything because the Hawks gonna give them hell too. I think that the Hawks present a number of different matchup problems for the Knicks, and the Knicks present some for the Hawks as well. I think that the Hawks' Achilles heel going against the Knicks is going to be their size. That's going to be their Achilles heel because Mitchell Robinson and Cat can be the X factors for the entire series. But on the other hand, you got a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker who's more than likely going to win Most Improved, who's shown that he moving different.
And he's
He's
battle
moving.
tested too.
Yeah, he's battled. He don't been in those games. He don't been to a conference finals before. So you got guys like him, Jalen Johnson, who I think is, he's going to play well in his. This is might as well been his very. This is pretty much his first playoff series. So this is his first playoff experience in general. So you got guys like him who I think is going to have a pretty good series because he provides matchup problem. They mirror each other in similar ways because they built their team on having depth on the wing positions. the Knicks just have the size as far as to be able to stifle the Hawks and what they want to do as far as getting into the paint and their rebounding.
Yeah, but you
But
know who I think the Hawks' real X factor is here?
CJ,
Yes.
CJ, yeah, I can see CJ, yeah, because CJ go out there and he averages anywhere from 18 to 22 points.
Ever since CJ started playing meaningful basketball again, you see the CJ that we saw for so many years in Portland.
And I think he actually enjoys playing in Atlanta. I really do. Because once things got rolling, they got rolling and we ain't never really stopped. And so I think CJ, I think the Hawks run like right now, they run somewhere between like a 9-man rotation, something like that. I think that the Hawks can do some things. I think that with Cat, if Cat is going to be one of those guys that's going to shoot threes, I think that you cannot, like, because he shoots the ball so well, his pump fakes are a little bit more deadly than some other guys. So you got to stay down. And I seen that the last game that they played each other, Kongu did a lot of jumping on those pump fakes. Got to stay down and make him actually take that tough contested shot because he still may make the shot anyways, but make it difficult for him. But don't give him a straight line to the because once he gets past a Kongu, there is nobody else. Jock Landale's still hurt. So you don't have a true center. You signed Tony Bradley. I mean, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but Tony Bradley ain't the guy that's gonna stop a cat. He ain't even gonna stop a Mitchell Robinson. So right now, you gonna have to rely on playing basically small ball, and you're gonna have to be able to guard in space and keep Cat out on the perimeter as well as he can shoot. Keep him on the perimeter because he's gonna raise havoc the more he gets closer to the rim. And Mitchell Robinson, you just got to keep him off the offensive boards. That's how you win the series. That's how you make it an entry because it's at minimum. I think this series goes 6 at minimum. Could I see it going 7? Yeah, I could. I could.
I'm with you on the 6. I want to address one Hawks player in particular, Zachary Ricochet. Get very comfortable with holding that clipboard.
Hey man, when it comes to Zach, man, he was the unlucky draw in a very weak draft class. I think that any other draft class, he would not be number 1. Hell, he might not even be top 5. I think that, everyone's saying, well, the Hawks should have got this guy, this guy. That was one of those drafts. I was just as confused as anybody else. Would I have loved to have Stephon Castle right now? Absolutely. Would I have even loved to have Donovan Klinger right now? Absolutely.
What's so sad about not taking Stephon Castle is that he's literally right from the crib.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect story. But even some people said Alex Sarr. I wasn't as high as on Alex Sarr as some people, but
He took a bit of a leap this year.
he did. I mean, he would have been better than Ricochet, but I think that Ricochet, he has to improve because I said this about him a while ago. There's not one thing on the basketball floor that he excels at that he does very well. He does a bunch of things like okay. Some things are like good, and then he does a bunch of things okay, but he doesn't excel at one particular. Like, there's not one attribute that you could say like, oh yeah, he's a dynamite, like he's a freak athlete or he's a knockdown shooter. He has none of those things. So he has to improve. Or else I can see him, you know, I ain't gonna say he's gonna be out of the league, but he ain't gonna be on the Hawks in a couple of years if this continues.
No, no. I expect him to be traded by next year, to be quite honest with you.
I do too. I do, yeah. I do too. And I say that the right package presents itself, you take it, no questions. And then if he turns into whatever he turns into, I mean, you just gotta live with it because right now it ain't working.
No, it's not working at all. But one more note we want to make before we end the show tonight. Cade Cunningham and Luka Doncic will actually be eligible for the NBA awards. They were awarded their grievances earlier on Thursday. Luka, because of the 2 games he missed in December to fly over for the birth of his child who was born outside of the United States, the league took that into consideration and they're not going to hold that against him. Cade Cunningham having a lung collapse on him, but he played 63 games. Well, he played 61 games before that happened. Then he came back. He played the last 2 games. Look, man, I'm happy because like now Ant-Man, he tried to go for his appeal too, and he also took it to a private arbitrator. It was declined, so he's not going to be award eligible, and that's unfortunate. But I'm happy for Cade and Luka because if they look, man, and rightfully so, we were literally calling for Adam. You need to change this rule. Under certain extenuating, so we get why the rule was put in place, but under extenuating circumstances like this, no, the way these guys were balling out, what they meant to their teams, you have to change this rule.
Yeah, because you're looking at two guys that are possibly more than likely first team All NBA. Cade made. I don't know if it's still like, do they still go by position or is it positionless?
I think they still go by position for all
Okay,
NBA.
so Cade may end up being on that second team because SGA has to be first team. SGA and Luca, if they're going to be your first team guards, then that would be the two guards. But Cade, with the resurgence that of Detroit this year, he got to be on one of those All NBA teams, man. Like even at one point, he was in MVP consideration just because of how well that Detroit was playing. So I do feel like that it was very circumstantial based because especially with Cade with that collapsed lung, I think that it was just unfortunate that it happened at so late in the season. The games he had to miss had, basically put him out of the running for those NBA awards. So I'm glad. And then, like I said, Luca missed, he couldn't miss the birth of his child. So that was two things that I was just like, I mean, y'all gotta show some flexibility with that rule because these are
Somewhere.
things that were unforeseen. Except the having a child, that's something that you can't get back. You can't like missing the birthday of your child is something that you will never be able to, get back. But also having a collapsed lung when you know that's a tough thing to come back from. You literally can't do anything about that. So I think that was one of those things like, yeah, we gotta kind of just like let's bend the rule a little bit, but let's make it circumstantial based, which is the reason why Amp's appeal wasn't awarded. It has
Right.
to be based off of the circumstances. So in situations like that, I'm glad the guys won the appeal. I'm glad that they're going to be eligible because they honestly deserve it this year.
Unfortunately, they're both going to finish respectively fourth and fifth in that MVP
Yeah.
voting, though, because SGA, Jokic, Wemby, they pretty much got that lock. Or SGA, Wemby, Jokic, however you look at it, those are going to be 3 candidates.
I just wish, and I hated that he didn't get more love because I thought that this was his year. JB, man, I thought that he should have gotten more love nationally because man, what he did this year, man. JB put on a show in Tatum's absence. Joe Mazzulla, he also did a hell of a coaching job, and I think that he should get a lot of love when it comes to consideration for Coach of the Year as well.
I think he will get Coach of the Year.
See, and that's fine with me. I'm not mad if he were to get it. If Mitch Johnson were to get it, I'm not mad if honestly.
I forgot about Mitch
And
Johnson.
and J, and then JB Bickerstaff. I mean, all those guys are deserving of that award. So you got a number of coaches that you could give it to, but Joe Mazzulla, based off of what he's had to deal with this year, yeah, I'm not mad at whoever gets it.
I feel
Just
like
like
it's got to come down between him and Missoula and Mitch Johnson. San
yeah,
Antonio was nowhere near a playoff spot last year, even before Wemby went down with the blood clots. Extenuating circumstances for Joe Mazzulla because the Tatum injury is talked about. What's not talked about is how much they flipped that roster over.
yeah, yeah. Going from getting Anthony Simons to no longer having Anthony Simons, getting Nicholas Vucevic. I mean, you could talk about all the moves that they made, but like I said, they still have one of the strongest benches in the league. They still have one of the best starting fives in the league. They have a top. I think I think he is the best coach. I think Joe Mazzulla is the best coach in the league.
And
And
not to
I'm
mention, and not to mention them letting go of Drew Holiday, who I'm sure is a big reason why Portland took the leap that they took this year too.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So a lot of stuff has happened. San Antonio, like I said, Mitch Johnson wins it. I'm not mad at it because like you said, they weren't the playoff team last year, and the leap that they took all the way to number 2 seed, I could see it. I really could, and I could see, what I'm saying. Like I said, Wemby's more than likely going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point. You even have some people that's been clamoring for him to get MVP. Now, that would be a thing if it weren't for like SGA having the season that he had without his second best player for pretty much the entire season. I still think SGA is going to go back to back as far as MVPs go
Oh yes,
because
yeah, that's locked.
the be without your second best player and still have the number 1 seed, the number 1 record in the league. I mean,
That's tough.
it's tough, but it's a good thing that we got an actual race this year with like
Yes,
serving
agreed.
candidates. So I'm not I can't really say like, oh, if somebody say, oh, I want Wemby, I'm not mad at it. I'm not. But you also gotta understand that SGA did all of this. He pretty much was consistent. What he been saying that I've been consistent my whole life. He did
Every
it again.
he kept that 20-point game streak going that
Yeah.
started before this season. So
And he
yeah,
did it efficiently. I
yes.
think that's important to say. Like he did it efficiently. He's not just chucking up shots. You can say whatever about the free throw merchant thing, but hey man, they had the number 1 team and they did it again. So that's
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. We thank you guys for joining us. The NBA playoffs right around the corner. And of course, we'll be right back here next week to break down everything that we're seeing through the first 6 games so far. Well, the first few games, I should say, so far. But more than anything, wishing everybody great health, great success. We don't want to see any injuries, anything significantly impact the outcome of any of these playoffs. Looking forward to it, man. It is that time of the year. And also, before we sign off, I got to throw a baseball note in here because there's a lot of people who are talking about Mike Trout again. Y'all do realize that the only reason Mike Trout wasn't doing things like this the past few years is because he was on the shelf, right? Mike Trout did not forget how to play baseball. Mike Trout has always been a great player. He just was on the injured list a lot. And
man,
seeing him go into New York and do what he did to the Yankees, although that's my favorite team, I honestly wasn't mad at it. I honestly was glad to see Mike Trout looking like he was back in his Mike Trout element again. Before Ohtani, there was Mike Trout, y'all. And although he can't get out there on the mound and do what Ohtani does as a pitcher, Mike Trout was the show in Major League Baseball for years. You just didn't hear about it because the Angels were a bad team.
stunk. Yeah, and honestly, Mike Trout may go down as the biggest one, if not, yeah, he may go down as the biggest what if, but not what if because of his talent. If it weren't for the injuries, you could be talking about him in GOAT conversation. Like that's what the trajectory he was on. Like I know some people, a lot of times he doesn't get the attention because the team's record, the team's success is not there. You gotta think about it. Angels have been bad for a long time. And that includes when he was having MVP years. Like they have been bad for a long time. They were bad during the Ohtani days. They were bad when before Ohtani got there. They were bad. So he may go down as one of the biggest. I think even in the series against the Yankees, so far he had 5 home runs. Like that just lets you know it wasn't never about talent. He still could have been like, and I'm talking about he could have still been the best in baseball even with Ohtani in the league, if not for injuries. That's not crazy to say because I've seen him. I've seen what he's been like for the majority of his career. Mike Trout has always been a consensus top 5 player when healthy. That wasn't a debate at one point. It was only his name only got removed from those debates because he hasn't been healthy. He's missed like majority of the season because of his injuries. But yeah, man, I look at that man like, okay, you would love to see him playing for, World Series, like for titles. You want to see him playing for rings, but what he's done from an individual standpoint, yeah, people can't underrate that. Like he got a Hall of Fame career if he retired today. Like today. Even if he retired last season, he had a Hall of Fame career. So it was just
Mike
like,
Trout had a Hall of Fame career locked up by 2021.
yeah, so it's like don't get it confused. Just because you ain't seen it in a while, don't mean he can't still tap back into it whenever he need to. But yeah, he been put on the show in that Yankee series.
And hopefully he's able to continue to put on a show throughout the season. Hopefully he's able to stay out there and stay healthy. He's one of my favorite players to watch when he is out there. That's going to do it for the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. We thank you guys for joining us. For KB, I'm X. We're saying peace.
Peace.